Here we are inside the Swift Lifestyle 4SB. If we firstly move across to the control panel, we can turn the 12 volt on just here. Once we've done this, you will see that we're illuminated here, letting us know we're using the caravan battery, and we're also illuminated here, letting us know we have main supply connected. We turn the water pump on and off at this point here. Obviously, water pump needs to be on for you to be able to get water out of your taps and fill the boiler up if it's been drained. At any point, we can view the levels again to check the condition of the leisure battery. Next, if we move across to the trimmer control panel for your heating and your hot water, currently you'll see it's just displaying the time. Again, it's letting us know we have main supply connected to the van. If we now press this button here, all these icons will appear, and as I rotate the button, they will begin to flash. So if we start with the first icon just here, this one is for your heating. So if I now click the button, heating is off. All we now do is rotate the button and pick whatever temperature we would like it to be inside the caravan, right the way up to a rather toasty 30 degrees. If we now click on that, you will now see a little flame has appeared above. That little flame there just represents the heating system, and it will begin to flash when the heating is in operation, and it will continue to flash now until 30 degrees is achieved, and then it will go back to a solid state. If I now click and rotate to the next icon, this one here is for your hot water. Again, now if I now click, hot water is off. If I now rotate, we can heat hot water to about 40 degrees, and if I rotate again, we can heat hot water to about 60 degrees, and if I rotate again, we can also perform a boost on the boiler. If we perform the boost and the heating's running, it will turn the heating off because it needs to take that power to be able to do it. The boost facility is very handy if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other. If I now put it back to 40, you will see that both the heating and the hot water will then fire back up. If we now move across to the next icon, this one here is for power source. So we're currently using, indicated by the little gas bottle there, obviously gas. So if I now click on it, you'll see gas. If we then rotate, we can use dual fuel, so we can use a mixture of gas and mains electricity at 1 kilowatt, and a mixture of gas and mains at 2 kilowatts, so just dependent on the amperage of the site you're on. Dual fuel is extremely handy, especially during the winter months if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. After your dual fuels, you then have main supply using 1 kilowatt and main supply using 2 kilowatts. Always remember to click or it will not store in, and remember what you're asking it to do. So you'll now see heating's on, hot water's on, and we're using main supply using 2 kilowatts. If we then rotate it across again, we then have the circulation fan for the heating system. So the fan is currently in eco mode. What we can do is rotate it and put the fan obviously into high. This fan can also be used to vent the caravan, so if we now turn everything back off and return to it, we can put it into vent, and we then have a fan speed of 1 to 10, so we can just push the air around on a hot day. After that, we then drop to the lower icons, and this first one here is for a basic timer. So if I click on it, it'll ask you what time you want it to come on. So let's say we want the system to fire up at 6 o'clock in the morning and then finish at midday. Once we've done that, we just literally tell it what we want on within that time period. So we want to be using dual fuel, we'll leave the fan in eco. If we now activate the timer icon will come up there, and then within that time period those settings would then apply. And as soon as I turn it off, next time we go to it we can alter it again. Obviously if you're going to be using the timer, it helps if the clock's correct, and that's all this one here does. It just literally just sets the time. The last icon is your settings menu. So within that we have index, which is really for technicians. It just lets them know what software the system is running. Brightness of your screen. Language. Full factory reset. Offset, which is just for that thermostat just there, so if you don't think it's quite correct, you can just tweak it by a few degrees. From time to time, these units will throw up error codes, but they will usually be basic stuff. So if you don't have main supply connected and you're trying to use mains, it will let you know. Same as if you're trying to run the system on gas and the gas box turned off or it's run out, etc. An error code will appear when my finger is just here. It appears as a warning triangle. If you then click on it, it will then display a series of numbers and letters, and then if you look in the manual or Google, etc., it will tell you what the problem is. 9 times out of 10, as long as you rectify the problem, the error code will just disappear. If that doesn't work, double click on the error code, and again it then may say no error and disappear. If that still does not work, I always say as a good old fashioned turn it off, turn it back on again. And the way we turn this completely off is just by holding this button in, and it will then say off. And then if we turn it back on again, if we still have an error code, I always then say just do the factory reset. Sometimes these can just glitch and they just need to be reset. Next, if we move down to the bench seat just here, if we just move the cushion up, you will then see in here that we have the consumer unit just here. So we have the 12 volt fuses just here, and then we have the mains trips just here. So the individual MCBs, RCD and test button, they all correspond to the sticker just here. Battery charger just there. Along the top we have isolator buttons for components that use main supply. So this one just here is, as it says, for the heating and the hot water on mains. So if I turn that off, I will get an error code on the Truma system if you're trying to run something on mains. The green one is for the battery charger. Again, we want that left on, so when we're hooked up to main supply, we're charging the batteries. To be fair, these are both more for maintenance. This last one here will illuminate if you have reverse polarity connected to the van. Not so much a problem in this day and age. These newer units will reverse the polarity and make it safe within the van. And then lastly, we have full system shutdown. So if you're not using the caravan for long periods of time, what you can do is press this one here and it will kill any residual draw on the leisure battery. Just tucked down here is the control board for the motor mover. And then to the other side we have the water pump and the surge dampener just there. And then the boiler just sits underneath here. And to drain the boiler down for winterization or travel, it's all just done on this little yellow lever here. So currently the boiler valve is in the closed position, so it's holding water in it. To drain it down, make sure that the water pump is turned off, and then literally just flap up like so, and it will then drop all the water out of the boiler. To refill it, flap it back down like I've just done there, fill up your aqua roll, drop your submersible into the aqua roll, turn the water pump on, and it will then commence refilling the boiler back up again. I do always suggest that when draining down, especially if you're winterizing the van, that once you've drained the water just here, then just go round the caravan and open up all of the taps. This will release any airlocks in the system and help it drain down. But secondly, what we hope will happen is that if there is an extremely harsh frost, the water as it freezes will be forced out the end of the taps into icicles instead of expanding in the pipework and splitting it. It does take a little bit longer to reprime the system when you have opened up all taps, etc., because when you go to refill it back up again, you will need to push all the air out, so the taps will cough and splutter for a bit. Once they're then running freely, you can then close them and then the system will fully prime. Just above this bench seat we have the stereo just here, on and off on this button just here, and then if I press it we can switch between the auxiliary, AM, FM, etc. CD just here, and eject here. Search for radio stations just here. Easy graphic equalizer just here, and then just back off again by holding it. The caravan is alarmed and the PIR sensor is just there. If we go to the keys, you'll see the fob just here. So the top one is literally a torch. After that we then have arm and disarm on this one. So if I press it, 1 beep armed, 2 beeps disarmed. We then have warning light on and off on this one, and then the last one is P, which stands for program. So we can basically change how the alarm works, so we can put it into high wind mode or pet friendly mode. You can't accidentally do anything just by pressing it. You do need to hold it down for 10 seconds whilst looking at the PIR light down here, because it will change how it's flashing, etc., depending on what mode you're putting it in. It's always a very good idea to look at the instruction leaflet that comes with the alarm before attempting to do any of that. If we then go underneath this bench seat, we can see the actual alarm box just there, and then tucked down just in the back there is some more 12 volt fuses, which again are all labelled up and are for bits and bobs mainly on the outside of the van, marker lights, indicators, etc. If we then go to the Thetford fridge just here, we basically turn it on and off on this button here, and then pick the power source just here. So currently, if I just press it, it's running on gas. These will automatically ignite themselves. To change it, just hold the grey button in and it will begin to flash, and then move across. So we have main supply with the picture of the 2-pin plug, 12 volt maintain for when we're towing, and then back to gas again. Whenever there's a problem with the units, if we just go to 12 volt maintain at the moment, you'll see once I've selected, we can then do the temperature. You'll now see that it's flashing, we have a red light. This is because we are currently not hitched up to any tow vehicle with the engine running. This is the basically roughly what you would see if it failed to light on gas, or if it was running on main supply and lost mains. Basically, to open, just pull the lever here, and then back off again, just here. Beside, we have this little cupboard just here, and you will see tucked just here gas isolation taps that are colour coded and then correspond on the sticker down here. Basically, wherever there is a gas appliance, there's usually a gas tap not too far away. I always say they can all stay on. Smell gas in the van, go to the source and turn the gas bottle off. We then have the microwave just here. It is always a good idea to remove the plate for travel. It is plugged in just here, and it behaves like most microwaves. You have quick start just here, stop just here, etc., and then you've got defrost, etc. We have the 3 gas ring burners. So it is just a matter of pushing in, twisting and pressing the igniter. Beneath that we then have the grill. Grills will always take a little bit longer to light, especially when a new gas bottle's just been put on. There we go. And then beneath that we have the oven. Above my head we have the Omnivent fan. So to wind the roof vent up, just here, and then middle button turns the unit on, and then we have extraction and cooling and variable fan speed just by pressing the button. Do make sure that all roof vents are down for travel. Underneath the bed we have the location of the spare wheel, and then if we go to the smaller of the two wardrobes, just tucked in here is the solar panel regulator. We do not need to do anything with this. You'll see currently we have a green flashing light underneath letting us know that the solar panel is receiving UV light, and then secondly at the moment it's now just changed that little red flashing light, which just means that it's popping a charge back into the leisure battery whenever it's not required. There we go, you'll see it's now gone back to green, which means it's now gone back into float mode, meaning that the battery again does not require, and there we go, it's now come back on again. So it will just switch in and out just depending on when it's needed. Next we have the toilet. Bowl does move about. To open to the cassette, just pull the lever to the side just here, and then push button to flush just here, and we will get an illumination just here to let you know when the cassette needs emptying. If you have not closed this back up again and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out, so do make sure it is closed. We then have the basin and the shower just here. Do make sure that the shower screen is fully clipped back for travel. With the door itself, we're currently in the locked position with the deadlock on as well. We can still have it locked without the deadlocks, and then just pull the handle down and then open like so. The deadlocks will always go on when locking from outside.